Alright, so once you get everything hooked up, turn the power on or plug it in, and it'll take anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds or so to boot up. You might see some things pop up on your screen, but eventually you're going to see this screen here. So what we need to do is we need to configure our controller or our gamepad. So here is an example of what you might see, and it's going to say one gamepad detected. Now this is assuming that you have a compatible gamepad or a compatible controller. Again, look for the links in the description for the one I use, and I'll put some other suggestions in there as well. Because if it doesn't detect it automatically, it can be much trickier to try to do all the setup. So hopefully it auto detects it automatically via USB. And then what you're going to do is you're going to press and hold a button on your device because you need to configure your gamepad, your controller, to RetroPie. So I'm going to hold down a button. Notice here it says D-pad up. So press anything. So on my controller, I'm going to use my D-pad. This is the D-pad here. I'm going to press up because I want that to be up on my D-pad. I'm going to press down. You can see the different instructions here. I'm just going through each step. I'm going to press start. Now I'm going to do select. I'm going to do the A button. So now I have face buttons, these buttons here. Again, I'm using this 8-bit DOE controller, the one I recommend. If you have something slightly different, your configuration is going to be a little different. If you have a newer Xbox controller or a PS4 controller, it'll still work, but you'll just have to do the configuration yourself. And in this slideshow, I have some suggestions. We'll look at them next year on how to do that. But I'm assuming you're using this controller here because this one works really well, and it's very easy to get started configuring it. So I'm going to press the A button. I'm going to press B. I'm going to press X, Y. I have shoulder and trigger buttons as well. So the shoulder buttons are these at the very, very top here. So I'm going to do left shoulder, right shoulder, and then this one has trigger buttons as well down here, the bigger buttons. So I'm going to do left trigger, and right trigger. All right, so on mine, it doesn't seem to be configuring now. So if it doesn't configure, if it doesn't work, you can just press anything and it'll skip over that. So my triggers aren't working right now. Most of the games I play aren't going to use triggers, so I'm not going to worry about it, but I can always come back to this. Now it says left thumb, so I have thumbsticks here, so I'm going to press that in. I'm going to do right thumb, and now I'm going to do my analog up. So this is the analog or thumbstick, and so I'm going to do up on that. So I'm going to push it up, push it down, left, right, and then I'm going to do the same thing for my right analog stick, so the one on the right here. This one right here. So I'm going to do up, down, left, right. And then this hotkey, this is important because this is going to allow you to exit your emulators and exit your games. I'm actually going to keep it blank. I'm just going to skip over it because then what it'll do is it'll give you a warning, and it seems to work better if you do it this way. So where it says press anything, I'm just going to skip it. So I press down on my D-pad. I'm going to go to OK. I'm going to select that. And then if it asks you, what it'll say is, mine didn't ask me in that particular case. So I'm going to do this real quick again just to see if I can get it to pop up because I want to show you what you're going to press. So I'm going to just do this real quick. You can see how fast you can do this. Go through it quickly here. Already taken, so I'm just going to skip. I'm going to hold down a button to skip, hold down a button to skip. I'm going to do my left thumb, right thumb. Try to do this quick for you here. All right, hotkey enabled. I actually want my hotkey to be the start button. All right, so I'm going to press start, and then there we go, and that should work, okay? So I'm going to hit OK. And now we're back at, or I should say now we're at our configuration screen. So when RetroPie first boots up, if you don't have any games or what we call ROMs, and we're going to talk about what ROMs and games are next, this is all you're going to see because RetroPie is smart enough to say, hey, I don't see any games that you have on your system, so I'm just showing your configuration. And so we'll go over a little bit of what you can do in this configuration. Okay, so hopefully this part can be a little tricky. So hopefully you get through this part. I'll provide some links in the description as well for some more tutorials that might help you. But generally, if you're using this controller that I'm using here, this 8-bit DOE one, again the link will be in the description. I find the controller setup fairly straightforward. Here's what we just did. So we used the D-pad. We mapped our A, B, X, Y buttons. We did shoulder buttons. We did trigger buttons, and then we set up our hotkey. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at now is maybe the thing that you're probably thinking about is, all right, how do I get games on here? How do I get what we call ROMs onto my Raspberry Pi into RetroPie? And that's what we'll look at next.